My name is Marilyn Stark. I started with the class of '79. I finished with the class of 1980 with a degree in chemistry and biology. For my time at Bethany, I would say that I made a lot of memories in the science department. As far as my life and my friendships, they come from that department. One day we decided in Dr. Heasley's organic chemistry class, which met at 7:30 in the morning, to all come in our pajamas. No one should have to be in organic chemistry at 7:30 in the morning. And he was a good sport and joked along with us and went with it. Whole science department. Those professors were incredible. They challenged you to think and to not just accept, but to really reason and come up with your own ideas and your own opinions. Watching my friends go through their first year of med school made me really rethink what God was calling me to do. I was privileged to work in the ICU in my research job and realized that I could really enjoy being an ICU nurse. And so I went back to the University of Oklahoma, got a BSN in nursing. During that time period of being in ICU, I felt challenged by God to trust Him when nobody else was around, to trust Him when my Christian friends weren't there, if it was just Him. And He led me into travel nursing, which I also did in the ICU field, but I traveled for about 5 years. In that period, I realized that God was enough, and that if I trusted Him, He would do amazing things in and through me that I didn't think was possible. Along with that came a challenge in 1995 to go on a missions trip with Josh McDowell and Project Carelift to Russia. I had a friend who was a missionary in Romania at the time, and so I decided I would just combine the two trips, and I spent 10 days in Russia and 4 weeks in Romania. There I figured out that we live in a blessed land that's amazing. When I came back from Russia and Romania, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. I felt like God said, just trust me and just do what I have for you to do for the next little while. And so my sister called and asked if I would come help with One Heart, Many Hands down in San Antonio in 1997. And I went down and was really introduced to the inner city in a way I hadn't been introduced to it before. When I came back from that, I felt led to start finding out about an inner city ministry in downtown Oklahoma City called Love Link Ministries. And I came down and sang a song on a Thursday night. Met a young lady who had a baby that was 6 weeks old, and the pastor at the time talked to me and said, hey, can you come back and help with food pantry tomorrow? And I went back on Friday to help with food pantry on that day. Felt led to come back on Tuesday morning, and came back on Tuesday and knocked on the door and nobody answered it, and I knocked again, and so I lifted up the mail slot and I yelled, Lisa, A very drunk man came to the door. I found out later his name was Backpack Jack. He said, well, you can come in, but you can't talk to Lisa because she's dead. My heart kind of sunk, and I stopped dead in my tracks because this wasn't a world I was used to. And I said, no, she's young, she's got a baby. And he said, I know, she's dead. She died Sunday, and her husband's making funeral arrangements. And that was my introduction to BJ, who was an alcoholic and had some mental issues, and he was making funeral arrangements. From that day on, I donated my time. I volunteered 3 days a week to run the desk. I went back to my church on Wednesday night, and I said, I don't know this situation, I don't know this pastor, I don't know much of anything, but I know we've got a baby in a recovery house full of men who are trying to stay sober that needs help, and we need to pray for that. And a friend of mine walked by and said, I'd be willing to be a foster parent for that baby if they want that while Dad gets treatment. And so I went back and told the pastor about it, and he said, I have 6 families who want that baby, but this is the first one who said they would just be a foster parent and give the baby back. And so 2 weeks later, after prayer and consideration, he chose my friends to have that baby. 6 weeks after that, BJ was not being successful in staying sober, and we had a meeting with him and the foster mom and the pastor, and he got mad and stormed out, and we were afraid that he was going to take the baby and leave. But on Sunday, he called and told the pastor he wanted my friends to adopt that baby because he said, I believe they can be better parents than I can. That whole process taught me that it's not just about my obedience, it's about everybody's obedience, and that God is wanting to weave tapestries with us if we will just be obedient. So because of that, that baby just turned 17 in May, and he's got a bright future ahead of him, and it just shows you that you can't see from our side what God is doing. I've been at Lovelink for 17 years, and people sometimes ask me how long I'm going to stay, and I don't know the answer to that. But what I have learned is that about the time you think you've arrived, the destination changes. He just says, "What's in your hand, and can I have it?" And when he takes it, it becomes something far more than it ever was in your own hands.